Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Super thrilled that you're here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to write critically and also think critically. So I want to give a major shout out to Kolade Durojaye. He requested this video because, truth be told, I had no plans of recording any video today, but when I saw his message request, I'm like, you know what, I might as well make the video. One thing international students in the UK can relate to is submitting an assignment and then getting feedback from your lecturers saying that, oh, your essay was not critical enough, or you did not analyze enough, your essay was too descriptive. And sometimes it might leave you wondering, oh, what does this mean? Like, how do I actually write critically? Hopefully the points I'm going to cover in this video is going to help you level up your writing skills. Okay, before we go on, the CP community, which supports UK international students, we have an academic coaching program which runs for 12 weeks just to prepare you with the skills you need to excel at your studies. Okay, right now the second cohort of the program is running, but you can join the wait list for the next set, which is in 2022. Sometime in the second quarter of 2022, it will open up. So if you have intentions to study in the UK next year, you definitely want to join the wait list, so you'll be the first to know once the program opens up, and you can also get an exclusive discount only open to those on the wait list. Okay. Let's get started. So we're going to be covering different things in this video. The very first, what is critical thinking, how to write critically, steps to writing a critical essay, and at the end I'm going to show an example of a descriptive and a critical written essay, just so you know the difference. Okay, so what is critical writing or critical thinking? A lot of times when people hear, oh, write critically, they feel it has to do with writing negative comments. You know how you're used to hearing, oh, that person is a critic, it means the person always give negative comments and stuff like that. But that's not really what critical writing is about. Critical writing means that you give arguments. It means that you don't just take points as they are, you don't just take facts as they are, but you try to argue out those facts. You try to give evidence to why you actually agree or disagree with a certain claim. So it is you giving an academic argument. That's what it means to write critically. It means you're checking different sources to try and ascertain if that claim is true or not. So, and a critically written work is backed up by evidences. It is backed up by relevant research. Also, critical writing involves engaging the reader. It also involves you looking at the limitations of the body of work you're reading. Like, what are the limitations? What did they not do right? Just means you've considered all sides of the argument. So you're not just stating facts. You're trying to explain why these facts are true. Okay. Now, while descriptive writing, on the other hand, is just like it says, descriptive. You're just stating facts. You're not really arguing out those facts. You're just giving information. You're just giving a summary without really telling us what you think about the things you've mentioned, the things you've stated. That's what descriptive essay is, or descriptive writing is. In a simple shell, descriptive writing simply informs the reader. It does not transform the reader, but a critically written essay transforms the reader. It's not just information, it's you giving points to state whether a certain claim is true or not and where you stand. It shows your own understanding and reasoning of that body of text. But not to worry, as we go further along into this video, it will make more sense. Another important thing that I want to state here is the best way to learn how to think critically is to write, okay? Because by writing, you will develop your critical thinking skills. Because in order to write effectively, you need to read a lot of sources. And by doing that, you're developing your critically thinking skills in order to gather all of that information into written content. So now I'm going to be talking about how do you write critically. Now, there are different points I'm going to mention, and they are in no particular order. The very first one is to define concepts. When it comes to critical writing, you want to define concepts that are not so clear. You want to use evidences to define those concepts, okay? The second thing you want to do is to organize your paragraph. So every paragraph should have a point. Every paragraph should have like an introduction, a middle, and a conclusion. Like, the way I would advise is every point should be properly developed in a paragraph, okay? So every paragraph is developing a point. Your paragraphs are coherent. That is a link to one another, but yet each paragraph can stand alone to give out a main point, if that makes sense. Another thing when it comes to writing critically is to use critical words in your essay. So we have words such as however, we have words like perhaps, we have words like similarly, we have words like failure to or failing to explain this. We have words like moreover, despite. Like, there's so many critical words you could use when writing. A resource I'm going to recommend here is the Manchester Phrase Bank. I'm going to put the link in the description box. Make sure you check it out. They have like different words and different phrases to introduce a critical standpoint in your essays. Like, you will find it really helpful, so ensure you check it out in the link below. Another important thing when writing critically is to use relevant literature and evidence, okay? So what does evidence mean? Because like I've been saying evidence, some people don't get it. Evidence means written work that proves a particular statement. So if someone says the earth is round, then you will now look for works that have actually certified that the earth is round. So maybe there's a journal article, a picture of NASA in space, stuff like that shows a picture of the earth, that the earth is round or the earth is spherical. That is my evidence to support that claim. So you need relevant evidence and you need relevant literature. Relevant literature means literature that are particular to that topic you're writing about. You're not just looking at 1, 2, 3 articles to write about that particular topic. You have a range of relevant articles that you're looking at. Another thing to mention here is that the articles you use should be up to date. It's not enough for you to be relevant. You need up to date materials. Only instance where you can use articles from way back is if you cannot find any up to date or new materials on that particular topic. Okay, another important way to write critically is to look at similarities and differences. So when you're reading different bodies of work on a particular topic, what are the similarities between these works? Okay, what is person A saying here that is different from what you're reading in this person B's article? That's what you're looking at. You're looking for similarities, you're looking for differences. That is one way to think critically, which would also inform your critically written essay. Another important thing to do when writing critically is to bring together Another thing to do when writing critically is to bring together different findings from different research, okay? So you're not just looking at one research, you're bringing like different findings. Oh, this person said this here, this person said this here, this person said this here, all about this particular thing. So that's what you want to do. So now I want to talk about steps to writing critically. Now, just like I mentioned before, the steps I'm going to mention now are also not sequential. So it doesn't mean the first thing I say is the first thing you do before you do the second thing. No, some of these things I'm going to mention now, you might have to do them simultaneously, but just for the purpose of flow and understanding in this video, I'm taking it one after the other. So the very first thing you want to do when you want to start writing critically is to preview the material, okay? Have some sort of idea about it, some sort of assumption about it. So you look at the title of the work, you look at the abstract. Now, it's really important to read the abstract because it is like a concise summary of what the article is about. So when you read the abstract, what deductions can you make from the abstract? What assumptions can you make from the abstract? You want to look at that. You might also want to look at the author of the work. So for example, if it's an author you're familiar with, then you already have an understanding of how that person writes, and you already have an assumption of how you think this particular article is going to turn out. But if you don't know that author, that's fine. So you want to look at all this, like I will call it preliminary information. So the title, the abstract, and then the author. Another important thing you want to do when you're looking at the material, you want to look at the layout. Is there a lot of pictures in it? Is there a lot of text? Is there a lot of subheadings, subsections? Like, how is the body, how is the essay broken up? So it's just you scanning through the document, because if there's a lot of for example pictures, it just tells you that that particular article has a lot of evidence-based material in it. Is there a lot of subsections that will help you know the key things that are covered in that article? So those are the kind of things you want to look out for. Now, the second thing to do when you want to start writing critically is to make notes, annotate. This is an important way for you to have an ongoing conversation with yourself as you read the material. So one of the things that I do, and I would advise that you do, is to use symbols. When I'm reading an article, I use symbols like asterisks, I use symbols like exclamation mark, I use symbols like a question mark. So when I read something that doesn't quite make sense to me, I just put maybe 3 or 4 question marks there, which tells me that, oh, I want to come back to this point and see how I can answer that question. Or if I see something that surprised me, I put like exclamation marks besides it, just so I know that that point stood out to me. If there's something I want to make a mental note of, I just put an asterisk sign at the top of that paragraph. That is me already reading critically, all right, so that I can write. Another thing you might want to do is to use highlighters, like highlighting the text as you go along. But it's not enough to just highlight. There has to be some way for your memory to remember why you highlighted that that thing. It's very easy for you to just highlight. And when you look at the work later, you're like, why did I highlight this thing? Because you've forgotten. So one thing I like to do, I like to highlight in color codes. So for example, I can use 4 different highlight colors, and then everything I highlight in green links to each other. Everything I highlight in yellow links to each other. Everything I highlight in red links to each other. Do you understand? So that way, when I'm reading, I'm like, all the greens connect, all the red connect, and all the blues connect, if that makes sense. Another important thing that I do is to create like lines on my margins and make a note. You know how you're reading and then you just create a line, like maybe enveloping like a certain paragraph. Then by the side, I will make a note of why I did that. Like I make a note like, oh, so this person was saying this here, and this is why this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. Like I just make little notes along the body of the work. It just helps create that memory trigger for me when I'm trying to build the body of my essay. Another important thing that you might want to do is to ask yourself questions. So as you're reading, you're like, what does this mean? Why am I reading this? What information is this author trying to pass across with this paragraph? What is the key point in this paragraph? What is this person saying? So as I'm reading, I'm also asking these questions. So you might want to try this as well. Another important another important thing when you want to write critically is to write in your own words. Because when you write in your own words, that's how you're able to evaluate if what you've read made any sense to you, if you understand what you've read. So one way to do this is to outline. So basically in like a sentence, what is this article talking about? So if you read a body of work, for example, and I'm asking you, what is this article about? You should be able to give a 1 sentence outline of what this essay or this article or this body of work you're reading is about. Another important way to do this is to summarize, okay? After you've read, just write it in your own words. Close the book, drop the article, write it in your own words. What is the summary? What are the key things you've picked out from this work? Just make a note of it. This should be like 2 to 3 sentences or a paragraph, just to summarize the key things that you've gathered from this body of work. Another important thing to do when you're writing critically is to analyze. So the points that this author has presented, how strong are these points? Does this author actually give like a whole lot of backings to prove that point? How strong is the author's argument? What methods did this author use? Are there alternative methods that could have worked? The methods that author A used, is it different from the methods that author B used? If there's any difference, which of these methods do you think actually makes sense or actually provides more results? Another important thing to do when reading critically and when you want to write critically is to check out for repetitions and patterns. So the way that an author uses a particular word can be indication to the key things they want you to take out. The pattern in which they write can also be indications of what the essay or the kind of message they're trying to pass across. Basically, this will give you an insight into the tone of the article, all right? So you want to check the choice of words they are using, what words are repeated all over the essay. You want to check out illustrations. You want to check out phrases that they use to describe things. This can give you a better understanding of the points you're trying to pass across. So last but not the least, you have to consider the research gaps, okay? Remember when I said you have to compare similarities and differences? So yes, you have to compare and contrast. What is the research gap? What does this article not cover that this particular article cover? And how can I merge these two information into the body of work that I am writing? So that's what you want to do. Okay. So at this point, I'm just going to be giving a simple example so you can see the difference between a descriptive work and an analytical or critically written essay. I'm going to put the text on the screen just so we can do it together. So this very first one is a descriptive written work. It's descriptive writing, okay? And I just made this up, so flow with me. The CP community is the largest platform supporting UK international students. The community comprises of students from over 7 countries. The community has an active presence on social media and a functional website. Support provided by the community ranges from academic help, travel advice, accommodation help, and student pair-up services. And of course, you put your citation where it needs to be, all right? So this is descriptive. There's nothing really remarkable about this. Now, let's look at how I transform this into a critically written work. Now, the same information, I'm going to pass it across in a critical manner, and also it just makes the body of the work more. And remember, I said critical work engages the reader. And once I read this, you see it is more engaging, it is more interactive, it is more interesting for you to hear or to read. Okay, the CP community with over 13,000 international student members is arguably the largest platform supporting UK international students. And I cited myself there, okay? This is challenged by the research of Jason et al., which claims that the Help a Student community with over 9,000 members is the largest platform supporting UK international students. So you see, there was a statement of facts given there, but then I have also argued that there's a different body of work that actually says the Help a Student community is the largest platform. All right, I say perhaps a reason for this discrepancy is that both authors do not clearly define the term international student. Does this refer to students who are already enrolled, or is it also inclusive of prospective students who have an interest to study in the UK? Now, as you can see, this is me putting in my thought process in this, like, oh, I've read this, I've read that, but maybe the reason why there's an error is that they do not clearly define who they are referring to as international students. Now, let's go on. I said, according to Kojo and Emmanuel, an international student is anyone who is enrolled at an institution of higher education in the United Kingdom who is not a UK citizen. So basically an immigrant. Remember I said what? That you can define concepts in a critically written essay. You can see I defined what international students is here so that we have a clear understanding for the body of this work. Then I said, suffice it to say that being enrolled at a UK university is what makes an international student. Therefore, prospective students are not included in this category. Then I said the data reported by Chidera 2021 shows that out of the 13,000 students supported by the CP community, only about 6,000 are currently enrolled at a UK university. Then I said, therefore, Jason et al. Might be right in his claim, but would need to clarify the term international students as used in his paper for this to be clearly ascertained. Do you see this? This is the same introduction with the descriptive essay. Descriptive essay was just saying, oh, the CP community is the largest platform supporting UK international students, but there was no evidence to ascertain that claim. What is the evidence? Now I gave evidences. Chidera said this, but Jason et al. Said that, and this is why I think there's a difference. Do you understand? Now let's go on. I hope you're finding it interesting. Now I said, remember the descriptive one said the CP community comprises of members from over 7 countries and doesn't really give us any evidence to support that claim. Now let's look at how this is written critically. While the CP community comprises of members from over 7 countries, majority of these members are from Africa, particularly Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Democratic Republic of Congo, South Africa, and Sierra Leone. Do you see there is more context to these 7 countries? The descriptive one just mentioned 7 countries. 7 countries from where? Are they 7 countries from Asia, 7 countries from all over the world? But this critical one is more like 7 countries, particularly from Africa. Okay, so that lets me know that majority of the people in the CP community are African students. Now, the descriptive one mentioned that the CP community has an active social media presence, but it does not really tell us the evidence to back up that claim. Now, let's read this critical one. It said, the community has an active presence on Instagram with 5,000 plus followers and an average content interaction of 147% within the last 7 days. And of course, I cited my source. But then I contradict this because I read something else that Instagram said. I said, however, Instagram has released a statement saying that content interaction alone is not a good indicator of how active an Instagram page is. As you can see, I stated a fact. I also contradicted that fact because this information just shows that content interaction alone is not enough for me to conclude on this, or for Chidera 2021 to conclude on this. Going on, said the content of the Instagram page ranges from academic help, for example, their post on plagiarism, to travel advice as seen in their weekly takeover series, accommodation help through checklists and email workflows, and student pair-up services like the pooling of funds for Grammarly. And I cited where I got that. I said through its 12 weeks academic coaching program, the CP community provides academic help and preparatory classes catering to UK students, and I put my source there as well. So as you can see, As you can see, if you read these two essays side by side, you can see that even just critically analyzing a body of work actually expands the content. This critically written work is more than 100 words, but the thing I wrote in that my descriptive work was just like 3 sentences, but this is that same 3 sentences that I have expanded with evidence, with facts, with points, with numbers, with figures, and then it makes it more critical. It's an engaging read. There's facts, there's figures, there's numbers, there's arguments, there's question. I'm also questioning. If the person's be like, what's the answer to this question? So I'm engaging the reader. This is what it means to write critically. Okay, there's only so much I can say on a video, but yeah, this is one of the things that are totally and deeply covered in our academic coaching program. So once again, I would advise that you join the waitlist for the CP Community's academic coaching program, where things like this are taught in-depthly is a word where things like this are taught in depth and to the fullest. Okay, so please let me know if you like this video. If you did, smash the like button. I did not say you should like the like button. Smash it. Let me feel the likes on this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow the CP Community on Instagram at the CP Community, Twitter, CP Community _. Also, don't forget to check out the Manchester Phrase Bank, which is linked in the description box. And also, I'm going to be linking an article by Harvard on the 6 reading habits for intensive reading and critical writing. I think it's a resource you'll find helpful. It's not really bulky to read. I'll also put the link in the description box below. Okay. All right, guys. Till next time. Bye-bye.